Good evening, everyone. Our government has remained a constructive force at the bargaining table with one mission in mind: keeping students in a safe and positive learning environment right across Ontario. Tonight, I'm proud to confirm that parents can rest easy knowing that our government has worked tirelessly to ensure their children will be in the class tomorrow morning. I'm pleased to confirm that agreement has been reached between the Crown, our government, CUPE, and the school board trustee associations that keep kids in class. This is most welcome news for families and students and workers alike, that schools will remain open across our province. But most importantly for me as minister and for families across our province, it is good news for our students who remain in class where they belong. I would like to thank CUPE and the Trustees Association for being willing partners and for ultimately putting our students first. By negotiating in good faith, all parties have demonstrated that a tentative deal can be achieved with this government. All parties bargained in good faith late into the night and over the weekend to reach a deal that is fair and that is reasonable. And I'm pleased that students will be back in the class on Monday. And I will continue to focus on landing deals in good faith that keep your kid in class. That is my mission, and that is our shared focus, so that families like yours can know with confidence that your child will remain in a positive and safe learning environment. Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake, I will fight day in and day out to ensure that your children remain in class, to ensure they remain learning, and to ensure they have every opportunity to achieve their potential. Our students deserve nothing less.
Minister Travis Damrosch, Global News. I am just wondering about going into these negotiations. Both sides seem very far apart. I spoke to you on Friday. There were some definite sticking points when it came to absenteeism, and there were some things that the union wanted to see. Can you tell me a bit about what concessions the government made in order to make this deal happen?
You know, my long-standing position last Sunday was that we were actually quite close, and I've communicated widely that we actually really got down to a few issues which we were able to iron out tonight. I think what's important for families in Ontario to know is that in good faith, we were able to come together, all parties, and negotiate the outstanding items. I'm not going to, in substance, get into the details of the agreement while it is literally just signed tentatively and must go through ratification. But what I can tell you on issues like absenteeism and others, I actually believe that all parties can leave this deal with a sense of optimism that it remediated or it achieved some of the priorities of all parties. And we have, on that issue, just broadly, strengthened the integrity of the sick leave system and the regime that governs it, while concurrently ensuring it remains compassionate for workers in the province that need it. And I think that type of win-win proposition, the fact that all parties can leave the table knowing they saw some incremental successes, shows that negotiating in good faith could achieve a result that is good for our kids, and that was our mission.
And just to follow up, this is the first of a couple of battles that you're going to have to fight. Right. There are negotiations that have to take place with elementary teachers and high school teachers as well.
Yes.
What would the message be to those unions tonight about their negotiations?
You know, we're going to continue to negotiate in good faith, but I think my message to everyone is, if we put children in this province first, if we never forget our duty to them, to keep them in a classroom in a positive space. And I say this, Travis, with especially to children with exceptionalities. You know, we heard so much, especially even this weekend, about many parents who have had a deep concern and anxiety, particularly for kids with exceptionality, intellectual, developmental disability, some autism families. It is for them especially that this was a victory, because their kids deserve to be in class, and all children deserve to be in class. But I think, you know, my message in short to all the parties is, by making the students the very center of what we are discussing, we can achieve material successes that both keep them in class, provide that stability that we all want, while concurrently advancing our shared priorities.
Hi, good evening, Minister. There are a lot of parents watching across the province right now. You can give us a 100% guarantee that all schools will be open tomorrow?
The short answer is yes. Schools in the province of Ontario will be open right across Ontario, north, south, east, and west, English and French. That is certainly my expectation, and I believe all schools will be open. It will be a positive and safe learning environment for students in Ontario tomorrow.
Okay. Certainly, it seemed like a lot of the school boards were looking to get as much money out of CUPE as possible, because the grants for student needs, the money that you are transferring to those school boards has been reduced this year. We are going to be in the exact same situation with all of the other teachers' unions, are we not? Because the school boards will be looking for the exact same savings from all of them.
Just the grants for student needs are broadly up across the ministry. In fact, we have increased investments right across the board, particularly for children with special education needs.
But individual school boards saw reductions in their actual transfers from the province.
It will be predicated on population growth. I mean, for boards that have declining population, that may be true. Certainly for boards with increasing population, the opposite could be true. I think what is important is overall, we're putting more money in the system. And you are right, we do have many more negotiations to go. That's why I think demonstrating a constructive focus on getting deals is what is important. And I appreciate, that there could be a lot of, difficulty. It can be tough in these rooms and in the environments that we operate in. But at the end of the day, notwithstanding the difficulty or the adversity of the process, we achieved a result that families want, which is stability. And I think they deserve that. Carry on. Sorry.
Hi there, Minister. You mentioned the handful of negotiations is still to come. Do you think that the future negotiations will be as challenging as this one?
I think all negotiations come with inherent challenges. Look, for the government's perspective, we're advancing the interests of students. For our colleagues and partners in the union, they're advancing the interests of their members. And of course, for trustees, they're advancing the interests of boards. We have sometimes competing, but often aligned interests. And I think through this deal, what we demonstrated is if you put students first, like this is not, just some platitude. It really is manifestly demonstrated when we sit down and look at what are the issues that divide us, quote unquote, and remind ourselves who we serve. 2 million young people in Ontario that ought to be learning in a positive, modern, safe environment. When we do that, I think sobriety sets in. We get back to the table as we demonstrated this week, and with the parties in good faith get a deal. So I think there's a pathway forward for all tables. I appreciate there will be difficulty. And the angst parents felt, I think, really concerned me. I really feel for them that they had to wait to this point. And I understand for many folks out there, particularly for families, one-income families, one-parent families, for children from underrepresented groups that may have additional pressure points. I don't want them in this position at all. And I'm just happy that we were able to provide some predictability, albeit at 9 o'clock at night, but provide them with some certainty that they deserve, so that their child tomorrow could be in class. And that is a message that I'm sharing with all of our partners, and I look forward to continue negotiating with them in good faith to get deals.
One of the main sticking points was the sick leave policy. How much will that cost the government going forward?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, we were able to build out a plan, find common agreement that maintains that actually strengthens provisions and the integrity of the sick leave system while concurrently ensuring it is compassionate. Those details, may come out in the coming days, but I think for today, given that we have just literally the ink is not even dry on the paper, literally, I think the focus is that we've landed a deal, we've done it within our mandate, and I think for all parties, to be fair, to the union and to the trustees, and certainly for the government, we could all leave this deal knowing we've achieved some incremental success, and that is important for the students of this province.
Minister, if things were so close last Sunday, why did it take until basically 7 days later to get to where we are tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously, to my earlier point, I obviously shared that angst that families felt over the past days. We've said, to be fair, including under show, that I stand ready to negotiate at any time last week. At the end of the day, opposed to looking too retroactively at this point, we've got a deal, and kids in Ontario are going to have stability. So I want to look forward to the next deals and how we could, the lessons learned from here, how we remain focused on kids, how we ensure that their priority and their health and their safety remains a singular priority. So while I obviously would have preferred, quite obviously, to get a deal before Sunday evening, while I have offered additional dates last Sunday and preferred we got a deal then, the fact is we got a deal tonight. And I think that is an important outcome, and I know families in Ontario will certainly be the beneficiaries of this, because they ought to know with confidence that their child will be learning today, tomorrow, and every day over the coming months and years.
So effectively, in your answer, you're sort of implying that CUPE is the reason that it took this long to get to today, because you're saying you were available 24/7. I've heard you say that time and time again. So it's CUPE that took so long?
What I'm simply noting is that the government stood ready to negotiate at all times, literally 24/7, happy to meet at any day, including last Sunday when we offered through the mediator additional days. But as I say, today's really not about that, pointing fingers. I think at the end of the day, the mission is to note that the union, in good faith, and the Trustees Association and the government, as you know, as different as we may have been, or ideologically, or our issues profile that we cared about, came together, sat at a table, locked ourselves in a room, our negotiators through the weekend, and got a deal. And that is what parents deserve. They deserve to have that predictability. They ought not be in this sort of the cyclical reality of having that insecurity every 3 years. And that is why I felt so compelled to return, get a deal that is good for families, and ultimately keep children in the class of the province of Ontario. And I will take your final question.
Thank you. Minister,
Okay.
we talked about this on Friday, and a lot of parents probably have this question because you said they deserve predictability, they
Yes.
don't deserve this kind of cyclical, up in the air, do we make lunch, do we not make lunch? Why are teachers and teacher unions, why are they not considered an essential service?
You know what? I know governments across party lines have contemplated that. That is not my focus today. I value educators and education workers. These folks work hard. Some of them are my family. I know they mean well about our kids. They provide, just foundational knowledge when it comes to nurturing the potential, and we respect them. But that is not a policy priority for the government. The priority of this government and of myself in my capacity as minister is to land deals to keep them in the class so that they continue to learn in a positive space. And today we've achieved that objective.
But Minister, transit workers in Toronto are considered an essential service, so that riders can get to work and school and everywhere every single day without having to worry about that. Don't students deserve to be on that same plane?
Yeah, as I say, students deserve to be in class, which is where they're going to be tomorrow, and I think that is a positive outcome for people in Ontario. Thank you so much.
We all set, folks? We're pretty excited to get started, as you can imagine. So, good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Walton, President of the Ontario School Board Council of Unions, representing 55,000 CUPE education workers. Thank you for joining us here tonight. I'm joined by Darcy McCathron, CUPE School Board's Coordinator, Rod McGee, First Vice President, Sylvain Pichet, Francophone Vice President of the OSBCU. To all the parents and students who are waiting to know what is happening tomorrow, I would like to apologize for how long it has taken to be able to give you this news. Believe me, this process has taken longer than I hoped it would. I do regret the disruption to your lives. I am pleased to tell you that CUPE has reached a tentative agreement with the Council of Trustees Association and the Province of Ontario. Schools will be open tomorrow in Ontario. The full details of the settlement will not be released until our members have had the chance to review them and conduct ratification votes. For now, let me give you a few highlights. As you know, throughout negotiations, we have been focusing on securing services for students and our schools. We have been committed to redressing the erosion of services that has occurred through cuts in recent years. In the deal we reached, we secured a reinstatement of the Local Priorities Fund with a new investment of up to $20 million. This investment will improve services in schools by bringing back jobs that have been lost due to the cuts. We were able to retain our existing sick leave plan. It was critical for us to provide that to our members, and I am proud that we were able to achieve that. We were also able to achieve modest wage increases and other things that we will go over with our members at their ratification meetings. Our members, our hard-working members, who are represented here by the bargaining team standing behind me, remain the lowest paid workers in the education system, doing some of the most critical work in our schools. We still have a lot of work to do to make up that fundamental shortfall, but we believe that this deal represents a foundation on which we can build upon. I am so proud of all of our members, and I'm also so grateful for the support we received from parents groups, allies, and the public. I firmly believe that because of those shows of support, the loud ones and the quiet ones, we were able to reach this deal. I think the government knew that we would not be divided from the students and families we work with and care for every day. Together, we defend public education. I'll take your questions, and Sylvain will be able to answer questions in French.
What was different about the talks this time round compared to last weekend? And the minister wasn't really specific in terms of what concessions the government made. Can you give a little bit more clarity on that?
I think the pressure that we applied, the fact that we were going to be going out on strike, a full withdrawal of services, made the difference this weekend. It allowed us to be laser focused on what we needed to achieve. And so we were able to push back on that sick leave concession so that there is no change to our sick leave plan. And we were able to get a new investment of funds on top of the local priority funds to be able to ensure that the services that had been lost have been restored, will be maintained, and improved in the future.
I know I asked you this question previously, but do you think the political, now that you're out of it and the deal is tentatively agreed to, do you think the political landscape, the fact that we've got a leaders debate tomorrow, the fact that, Andrew Scheer, does it seem like he wants to be tied to Premier Ford in any way, had anything to do with the fact that this deal was done?
This deal was done because parents, students, families across this province spoke loudly to say that they supported us and were defending us for what we were defending for them. This isn't about a federal election. It's what students and parents need here in Ontario.
Laura, can you take us to the last 24 hours? It seemed like there was an up and down. I mean, it seemed like, at one point everything was going poorly, and then it was, back to going well again. Take us through these last 24 hours. What have you been like?
And such is the landscape of negotiations. I think, we came in, this team has been so dedicated to keeping their eyes on the prize, which was better services for our students. We quickly were able to get to work at the sick leave and tackled what the concerns were. We're able to push back on that so that we were able to maintain that, which allowed us to clear the plate for what I've always told you folks was our key priority, which is services for our students. We were able to show that there has been losses, and we were able to get the government to commit to investing more to return those jobs back to our schools.
Was there a moment at all during these, since Friday afternoon, that you felt we're going to walk?
I would say, and I think my team would agree, there's a couple of times we probably thought we've reached the end game. I think we're all pretty tired, and it's an emotional time when you're sitting there doing that, but it really spoke to the grit and determination, and also the genuine need that we knew was out there for our students. These people care about students every day, not just when we're at the bargaining table.
Did the province cave?
The province met us where they needed to be in order to get a deal.
Did you give up anything?
No.
Said you weren't going to give up anything?
We didn't give up anything.
Is there anything you regret from the negotiations? Anything you'd like changed?
I would like to have had more sleep along the way. But I think, you know what? I never regret anything that we do. The key to negotiations is having good adult caring conversations. And unfortunately, we were able to have the other side see the points that we were making in regards to our members and the services that they provide to the students in this province.
When will members see the deal and when will ratification votes take place?
So we have a commitment to get things done by the end of the month. So it's going to be a busy few more weeks for us.
So there are a number of other unions that have to go into negotiations with the government. What should they take away from this? Is this clearly, it was a government that you were able to work with eventually. What's your message to those unions about their upcoming negotiations?
We've got your back, just like you had ours.
Do you think that this deal in any way strengthens their position or weakens it, but there was no strike?
No, I think, we've set some groundwork for them to have some really good conversations and get what they need for their members. The key is that public. That public is supporting the education system. They have seen what this government has done. They have seen what previous governments have done. They're not happy.
Laura, you talked about the restoration of the local priorities fund. I'm wondering if you could explain to us how people would see that impact in the class, how parents see that, what difference will it make?
Definitely. So one of the key areas for us is the return of the community use of schools funding, which allowed schools to have those school gymnasiums, auditoriums, school spaces open for community use. And it allows our custodial caretakers to be on premise when those are open. That's huge because that's ensuring that these schools remain important parts of their communities. It also ensures funding for special education, funding for additional custodial maintenance, and clerical throughout the schools, which are all key areas that you've heard me speak about being cut.
Now, the previous minister had actually called that fund specifically a slush fund. By the previous government. I mean, were you hearing that kind of rhetoric at the table, and what changed their mind?
No, I think at the end of the day, we were able to achieve something that the Trustees Association can go back to their communities and be proud they were part of, because we're returning the services back, which will help them as well.
You mentioned that there were some tough moments through the talks and so on. Was there a moment where there was a breakthrough when the government made a certain concession and you kind of saw the light?
I think having the sick leave removed from the table and knowing that it was going to remain status quo gave us the final push that we needed to ensure that we could get the services. We got that off the table and we're able to focus on what we really needed to be there talking about, which was services for our students.
Last time we talked, you said that you really wanted security
Mhm.
to make sure there wouldn't be further cuts. Did you get that? Are you
Yes.
happy with that?
Yes, so the local priority fund stays the life of the agreement. The additional investment of $20 million is also the life of the agreement. And we also have a way now to be looking forward and working with the school boards to ensure that those services stay. And I think the school boards in the Crown have also heard just how important services are, and hopefully they will be considering that as they head into budget consultations in a few months.
How many jobs do you think will be restored at this point?
I believe that we said it was between 1,300 and 1,500 jobs will be returning back to the province of Ontario. No small potatoes, and something we're really proud of.
All week, the minister's been saying, you know, you were close last weekend, that he was available 24/7 any day this week to negotiate. He didn't say it was your fault for the delays, but he says he's been ready and this could have been done at some point. What do you say to sort of comments that sort of allude to the fact that maybe it took CUPE to get to the deal now?
I know my team was at the table the entire weekend. I haven't seen the minister yet.
Laura, do you think that the idea of going now after only 48 hours of having that winter rule and then issuing the strike mandate right in the middle of the election has helped pressure the government into signing this deal today?
I would like to think that the work to rule and the strike deadline were all the pressure that this government needed. But I think the added bonus was the pressure provided by families and the public, even this morning, but throughout this entire process.
So you don't think that the federal election had anything to do with it?
I can't comment on that.
Can you comment on that?
I work in provincial schools. That's not anything that we have ever intended. We don't choose, we didn't choose the end date of the collective agreement with the federal election in mind. We stayed on the task, which was important. There was a clear lack of services in our schools. At the same time we were negotiating a contract. That was our goal.
You talked about this at the beginning of your opening statement, but I mean, it's 9:39 now. Parents have been across this province kind of waiting, scrambling to try to figure out childcare tomorrow and what was going to happen with their kids. And it's been really frustrating and angering for a lot of parents. Does CUPE take any of that blame on, or do you lay that all due to the government?
We would have liked to have said this earlier. We worked really hard. We had set a deadline for ourselves. Unfortunately, it sometimes just takes longer to get things done that need to be done in order to get to where we are tonight.
How long is the new deal?
3 years.
So who comes out of this the winner?
I would say the students.
We're talking about union negotiations.
Still
You
going to
guys
stay?
feel like you guys came out of this with a victory?
I think the students and families were the victors in this. We're just the people who are supporting those and allowing them to succeed in their schools.
And so in terms of the number of full-time equivalent staff you have, it's 55,000?
Mhm. 55,000, yep.
It's all 55,000
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, so we will have an increase of permanent jobs in the schools, which will be huge. Any other questions? No problem.
What would you say
Oh.
to the minister if you saw him face to face? You said you haven't seen him at all with the bargaining table. What
No.
would you say to him?
Thanks for opening the piggy bank and allowing us to get the services that we needed for our students. They'll thank you too.
Sorry, Laura, do you know how much money we're talking about here over the term of the contract? Like, because we were trying to figure that out from the province.
We know that there is a new investment of approximately $20 million, but there are additional monies. We haven't landed the plane on how much that is. That's some of the work that our team will be going back to do when we're done here tonight. All righty. Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Do you need him at the table? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want us to stay? He can. Where is your camera? Okay, we
Well,
good?
we can go outside if
We
you
can,
want.
yeah. Woo! It's a lot of sitting, you gotta understand. I'm so sick of these chairs, I'm leaving my own. Thank you.
Thank you.